She vanished without a trace. And the only clue left behind is chilling footage of her acting like she's scared for her life. Emma Fillipoff disappeared from the face of the earth on November 28, 2012. This last CCTV footage shows her pacing nervously, repeatedly entering and exiting a gate. But that's just the surface. Beneath it lies a deeper, heartbreaking story, filled with unanswered questions, mistakes, and details that have kept this case unsolved for over a decade. Join us as we uncover the mystery that still haunts the city of Victoria, the disappearance of Emma Fillipoff. Raised in the small town of Perth, Ontario, Emma grew up in a busy household with 3 siblings. Her world shifted in her early 20s when her parents, Shelley and her father, decided to divorce. Seeking her own path, Emma studied culinary arts in Campbell River through 2009, even spending a few months tutoring English across the world in China. Interestingly, Campbell River is also located on Vancouver Island. It's a charming small city, situated not far from Victoria, the place we'll be exploring in more detail very soon. By 2011, she was back in Perth, but only briefly. That same year, she packed her bags for Victoria. On the surface, Emma was quiet and reserved, but behind that silence, there were signs of a struggle dating back to her childhood. To those who knew her, Emma was a master at masking her inner turmoil, keeping her deepest battles hidden from even her closest friends and family. Life in Victoria was anything but stable for Emma. According to friends and co-workers, she was sleeping in boats and forests, before eventually deciding to stay at the Sandy Merriman Women's Shelter, where she remained until her disappearance. Emma changed several jobs before securing a position at a seafood restaurant in the harbour area. Her role was seasonal and ended on October 31st, but she was planning to return in February next year. Her finances were in good shape. She was debt-free, had $3,000 in savings, and showed no signs of being involved in anything illegal or dangerous. But as the days grew shorter, Emma's behavior was growing increasingly unusual. She was considering a move back home to Perth, but it was clear to everyone around her that something was deeply wrong. As we'll soon discover, the truth behind her actions adds another layer to this unfolding mystery. On November 20th, Emma was seen pacing in and out of the YMCA 4 times in just 15 minutes. Each time, she stopped at the door, glancing outside as if searching for something beyond. Over the next several days, from November 20th to the 28th, Emma reached out to her mother several times. At first, she expressed a strong desire to come back home, but her feelings kept shifting, and by their final conversation, Emma told her mother she had made up her mind. She was going to stay on Vancouver Island. Her mother discovered that Emma was staying at a women's shelter after she called back a number Emma had previously used, but a shelter worker answered instead. Concerned about her daughter, she decided to fly to Victoria to help Emma return to Perth. To avoid putting any pressure on Emma, she chose not to inform her of the visit in advance. But Emma's condition continued to deteriorate. Throughout the day, multiple people observed her wandering aimlessly around town, behaving disoriented and confused. In the days before her disappearance, Emma bought a van and later told people she was planning to use it to move back to Ontario. She intended the van to be her way out, but unfortunately, she couldn't get it to work. She had arranged for it to be towed to a parking lot before. On November 28th, she called a towing company again to move the van. The driver sent out couldn't tow it for some reason, so it stayed right where it was. This was just another unlucky setback for Emma. Her plans were falling apart, and this only added to the pressure she was already feeling. Later, when the police searched the van, they found most of her belongings inside, including her passport. She had packed everything up, but she couldn't find a way to make things work for her. Julian Houard was an old friend of Emma, and for a while, a person of interest for the authorities. While on the bus, he spotted her standing alone on Pandora Street. Julian got off a few stops early to check on her, but couldn't see her face clearly. He went his way, but when he returned to the same place, he found Emma again, still standing motionless at a corner. He approached her and asked if she needed any help. She shook her head, no. He realized Emma wasn't going to accept his help, so he left frustrated. But who was Julian Houard? They met in Perth, and Julian was immediately attracted to her. They spent time together going for walks, and Emma enjoyed Julian's company, but their brief relationship ended amicably. She explained her reasons, and he had accepted them, thinking that probably he would never meet her again, as she told him she was leaving Perth. In Victoria, Julian decided to reapproach her and bought tickets for a concert festival. However, he had no way of contacting her. This is where he made what looks like an honest mistake, one that probably made him immediately a suspect after her disappearance. He decided to message her father and ask him of a way to contact her. However, being French and coming from Quebec, he wasn't entirely fluent in English and mistakenly used the word stalking in that message. Until this point, Julian had done nothing wrong, though. It appears he was never stalking Emma. He had never been coercive or aggressive against her at any moment, and it appears it was all a misunderstanding. Her father did not read the message until days after Emma's disappearance. The word stalking immediately made him think something was going on, so the police were the next ones to contact Julian. He hoped to build trust by being honest, but the wording used brought the opposite results. The last thing I want to do is be stalking her like I did the last time. In his defense, no one would use the term stalking unless they are unaware of what it implies. Julian obviously thought it referred to a romantic gesture, aiming to show Emma's father that he was genuinely interested. Now, the second time Julian met Emma in Victoria was on the morning of her disappearance. He did not have to tell anyone about that encounter, yet he did when he found out she was missing. He got off the bus to speak with her, but Emma was cold with him, responding with brief replies that made him feel unwelcome, which is how she had been described by everyone else that met her the same day. After that interaction, Julian left and never saw Emma again. Generally, about Julian, it appears we know enough about him to consider him not a suspect. The story he told the police seems accurate, and a lot more happened during that same day after that meeting. Yet, in the depths of human dread and forgotten truths, one can never truly know. Earlier in the day, Emma purchased a $200 prepaid card from a 7-Eleven store, but a few hours later, she returned to the same store to buy a prepaid cell phone, which she never activated. During her second visit, CCTV footage shows Emma staring nervously outside, as if trying to avoid someone on the street. She left the store only several minutes later. In all the footage we have of her, Emma appears to be acting unusually. She looks fearful and hesitant to move, as if she's worried someone is following her and is trying to avoid being seen. After leaving the 7-Eleven, Emma returned to the shelter, where a caretaker casually mentioned that her mother was flying to Victoria that very day, completely unaware of how shattering this news would be for Emma. The moment the words sank in, shock washed over her face. Without a second thought, she bolted out the front door. Her friend and roommate Patty chased after her, desperate and pleading for her to stay. But Emma was already gone, ignoring every call, every plea, vanishing into the streets, fleeing the shelter in a sudden, desperate escape. Outside, she entered a taxi and told the driver to take her to the airport. But within minutes, she suddenly changed her mind, telling the driver to turn back to the shelter, claiming she couldn't afford the $60 fare. Her excuse didn't hold up, as she had a bank card with over $2,000 and also that $200 prepaid card she bought earlier. The taxi driver later told police that Emma appeared confused during the ride, even asking him, "Why is there noise coming out of that?" referring to the taxi's radio. It was clear her condition was deteriorating rapidly. But this day's erratic behavior was no surprise. The signs had been quietly building for weeks. Residents at the shelter had observed Emma behaving unusually for weeks leading up to her disappearance. Emma was seen moving furniture out of the shelter and leaving it on the street. When other residents inquired about her actions, she claimed that the furniture was talking to her and making noise. This was a clear sign of paranoia, prompting the shelter staff to contact the police and request mental health assistance. It was the first time the police was notified over Emma Fillipoff. However, Emma's roommate and close friend, Patty, suggested in an interview with Jordan Bonaparte that the shelter might have misrepresented the situation regarding Emma throwing furniture on the street. The 911 shelter call was the first report concerning Emma, but the police didn't show up. Instead, they advised the staff to call back only in case her irrational behavior continued. This response was arguably a serious oversight, given the clear signs of a person struggling with mental illness, but it wasn't the only one that went unnoticed. Over the course of these 2 weeks, the police were notified at least 3 times regarding Emma and failed to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation on each occasion. After getting out of the taxi, Emma was spotted wandering barefoot in front of the Empress Hotel at the Inner Harbour, holding her shoes. Dennis Kay, a person who had met Emma before, saw her standing in distress and offered to help, but she declined. When he asked if she was okay, she said yes. Noticing her strange behavior, he asked if someone was stalking her, but she started moving away, unwilling to talk. Dennis stayed with her for a while before going into a nearby restaurant to call the police, recognizing Emma needed immediate care. When the police arrived, they found her standing barefoot on the pavement, holding her shoes. After about 45 minutes of questioning, they did not see her as a threat to herself or others, and left. We have no confirmed sightings of Emma since. So it's about time to address the elephant in the room and thoroughly examine all the gaps that make this story feel unsolvable. After all, deep down, there are already countless questions echoing in our minds. But to understand what happened that night, we need to follow the trail beyond where the police last saw her. Shelley, arrived at the Sandy Merriman shelter, but unfortunately, Emma had already vanished. The staff quickly notified the police again, and by midnight, Emma was officially declared a missing person. Shelley rented a room at a hotel right next to the shelter and was eager to start searching for her daughter immediately. That night, Shelley didn't sleep. In the days that followed, the search intensified, and Shelley never stopped looking for months on end. On December 5th, just 8 days after she went missing, someone used her prepaid card at Pedro Canada station to buy a pack of cigarettes. The police quickly apprehended the man and interrogated him thoroughly. He passed a polygraph test, and no concrete evidence of foul play was discovered. The man claimed he had found the prepaid card on the side of the road near the Juan de Fuca Recreation Centre and Galloping Goose Trail in Colwood. In the days that followed, he called Shelley personally 3 times, saying he wasn't sure where exactly he found the card. He admitted he was drunk most of the time and uncertain about the location. So, the clue everyone had been searching for was finally there. But instead, all we got was a drunk and confused man. That is, if we are to believe him at all. In the entire case of Emma's disappearance, we have to rely too often on trusting people's words without any way to verify their claims, something that adds even more to the confusion. It shouldn't surprise us if the solution to this unsolved mystery lies within these words. If words spoken were not truths, but lies. Despite this uncertainty, the police cleared the man of any wrongdoing and announced Colwood as the likely place where the card was found, even though he himself wasn't sure. As a side note, polygraph tests are far from reliable, and most courts don't accept their results as credible proof of guilt or innocence. It's concerning just how much the Victoria Police seem to rely on this method during their investigation. A man suddenly bursts into a clothing shop in Gastown, Vancouver, captured clearly on CCTV. He throws down a missing person poster of Emma Fillipoff and tells the shop owners, "It's one of those missing persons posters, except she's not missing. She's my girlfriend, and she ran away because she hates her parents." Although security cameras captured the man, the footage's poor quality and awkward angles made it impossible for police to identify him. Despite professional efforts to recreate his image, he remains unidentified to this day. Today, some believe he could hold the key to solving the case. When you break down the behavior of the man in the green shirt, you're essentially left with a binary set of possibilities. We're either looking at an individual in the middle of a total mental breakdown, someone whose reality has been completely fractured, leading him to fabricate a story about a girl he's never actually met. Or there's the second possibility, the one that carries a much heavier weight. This was a man who knew exactly what happened to Emma Fillipoff. And when you look at the physical evidence, the odds start to lean uncomfortably toward the latter. He wasn't just a random person off the street. He bore the marks of someone who had recently been through something violent. He had tattoos covering both arms and a distinct limp. But perhaps the most critical detail is what appears to be a scar on his head that could indicate treatment with fresh stitches. This suggests that in the days leading up to this footage, this man must have been involved in a serious accident, or more likely, a physical confrontation. Between the head injury, the limp, and the sheer aggression of his outburst, he looks like someone who is dangerous and unstable. In a case already shrouded by unanswered questions, this man introduces another mystery within the mystery, a single, blurred data point that could either be totally irrelevant or the key to everything. Many more sightings have been reported over the years, though none have been confirmed. However, the most compelling account emerged years later from a man known as William. In June 2018, nearly 6 years after Emma was last seen, William realized that he had actually given her a lift the morning after her disappearance. Where was she headed? The mystery deepens. William was driving to work when something caught his eye along 1264 Eskimolt Road. He saw Emma nervously pacing back and forth along the roadside, looking distressed. Concerned, he pulled over to ask if she needed help. Emma immediately climbed into the car, barefoot and soaking wet, as if she had been wandering all night. The moment she stepped inside, she appeared calm, almost relieved, and asked if William could drive her to Colwood to visit a friend. Colwood, the very place connected to the person who found and used her prepaid card. William explained he could only drive her part of the way, as he was rushing to work. After about 5 minutes, he stopped at the intersection of Craigflower and Admirals, near a gas station, and Emma stepped out. But as soon as she left the car, her calm disappeared. She grew paranoid again, pacing anxiously in the street before eventually walking toward Colwood. Did Emma really have a friend there? Did she ever make it to Colwood? No one knows for sure. Despite extensive searches by her family and volunteers in these areas, no trace of Emma has been found. Many reported sightings surfaced after Shelley launched a campaign offering a $25,000 reward, yet most sightings were either mistaken identity or couldn't be confirmed. The most chilling fact is that Emma just vanished, and no trace of her was ever found. No bag, no shoes, no clothes. Just vanished. This brings us back to the last reliable information, the time and place of her disappearance, the very point where our search must begin. Emma Fillipoff's disappearance begins with her last confirmed sighting outside the Empress Hotel. But we also shouldn't dismiss the Colwood incident, since her prepaid card was found there. You might also have felt that something was off in this story. Something essential is missing. When suspicions arose around Julian Huard, there were no similar questions raised about others. It certainly seems that someone in this story was treated too lightly, never seriously considered a suspect. And there are significant gaps in the story told by Dennis Kay. This is someone few people discuss, only a handful have noticed. A person who was the last man to see Emma and the one who called the police. A person who claims he had just talked to Emma once in the library, weeks ago before the incident, and also met her once again, but did not engage in conversation. In an interview, he explained how he watched from afar the police arrive and felt relieved, assuming they would ensure Emma received proper care. He had called the police from a nearby restaurant, but why not use his cell phone instead? What was he afraid of? Tracing the ping of Dennis's cell phone could have provided critical insights into the investigation. But now, nearly 14 years later, it's unclear if any such data was preserved. Key claimed he watched the police from a distance for about 10 minutes before walking away, believing Emma was in good hands and that the authorities would take her somewhere safe. He never talked to the police on site. He never engaged with them directly. He simply observed from afar while they spoke with Emma. Perhaps he thought intervening would upset her, which is understandable. Still, everything we know about these events comes solely from his own testimony. Key positioned himself as a good Samaritan, but there's no confirmation about anything else he says. He is actually the most suspicious person in this story. Someone nobody else knows, who had only talked to Emma once according to his statement, and happened to be at the wrong place, the wrong time. No one knows if he actually left the area while Emma was being questioned. No one knows if he went home afterward. And no one can verify if he had only met Emma once, as he claimed. Dennis Quay claimed he was in Sydney visiting his family when he saw a photo of Emma in a newspaper, and that was nearly a week later. He got a call back from the police asking him for details about that night, and about 3 months later, he visited the police for a report. Some sources suggest he also passed a polygraph test, but even if he did, again, what does that prove? Then again, Emma had met so many people in her 1 year living in Victoria. Without a body or evidence of a crime, this mystery is proving almost impossible to solve. What is reasonable to assume is that trained police officers would recognize a disoriented person as someone needing immediate care. At least 2 more calls regarding Emma had been made, and all were ignored. Emma's whereabouts remain a mystery to this day. Initially, police believed she had not left Vancouver Island, but the island is vast, filled with uninhabited places, mountains, lakes, and dense rainforests. Emma could have traveled miles, over hours or even days, and perhaps became lost in one of these remote places. Whether she had the strength or clarity of mind to survive the harsh wilderness in her vulnerable state is a question that haunts everyone who has followed her story. Her mother, Shelley Fillipoff, has never stopped searching. For more than a decade, she carries the painful burden of not knowing. No closure, no answers. Just the haunting image of her daughter stepping out of that shelter and into the night. Emma was a young woman who quietly dreamed of a future she hoped to build. Whatever darkness clouded her mind in those final weeks, a life still waited for her on the other side. She deserves to be found, if that's what she wants.